Am I the a-hole for blowing up at my husband for lying to me about my sister and her baby leaving when he actually kicked her out? My sister 20 got out of a terrible relationship and moved in with me and my husband and brought her 5-month-old son. She's dealing with a handful of issues, from PPD to depression. I asked my husband if he'd be okay with her moving in, and he said absolutely. Not just this, but he was the one who picked her/brought her home. She stayed for 2 weeks and helped around the house. My husband started complaining about the baby crying, but a newborn is expected to cry especially at night. He said it causes him stress, although I suggested he put on earbuds. He suddenly told me to forget it, and so I did. Last week, I had to go out of town to attend a friend's funeral without my husband. He said he wanted to stay with my sister to make sure she's okay. I returned home the next day and didn't find her or her baby home. My husband said she contacted a friend in another town and wanted to move in with them and left that morning. He handed me a letter he claimed was from her. This felt odd, especially after reading the letter. I called her phone many times, but turned out my husband found it and said she must have left it behind. I was worried. I had no means of contacting her to make sure she was okay. I contacted relatives, but they knew nothing. Then yesterday, I got a call from an unknown number and it was her. We talked and she told me that she didn't leave on her own, but my husband kicked her out after telling her that she was no longer welcome and she needed to take responsibility for her decisions. I was shocked as she explained that she's not with a friend, but at a shelter and she has no money. I waited till he got home and I blew up at him. He admitted he faked the letter and hid her phone, then argued that it's his house too and he has a say. But he shouldn't have lied to me about my sister and causing her to be homeless. He said I was being unfair and wrong to lash out at him for wanting peace in his home. I went upstairs and refused to argue anymore. I told him I'm going to pick her up tomorrow and he said he'd change the locks while I'm gone, and I won't be allowed to bring her home. I'm thinking of going to a hotel, but he kept saying that I'm letting my sister affect our lives by prioritizing her. But there's a baby involved, my nephew, and I can't leave him homeless. I get that it is his house too, but I don't see why he's so against her staying. Now for the top comments before the little update. Not day hall. He waited until you were out of town so that you couldn't object. So that you couldn't protect her, as he not only kicked her out, but took her freaking phone so she couldn't contact you. He is a dangerous man. He threw a woman and her newborn onto the street without a care in the freaking world. Now he is threatening to lock you out of your own house? You need to divorce him immediately. He left a young mother and her young infant on the street and without protection because he was losing a little sleep and stressed. Now he is threatening to evict you from your own home? This is abhorrent. Bring her and the nephew back. Consult an attorney and get him out ASAP. He targeted a victim of an awful relationship for further mistreatment. Very freaking methodically. He timed this move for when her one advocate was out of town, and then crafted multiple, elaborate layers of deception to make sure you could not contact each other and get her out of yet another unsafe situation he'd forced her into. Now he wants Opie to be homeless too. Like many spouses of abusive men, Opie's probably grappling with the instinct to show far more consideration for his feelings and basic needs than he would ever show for hers. This man is not your family member. This man is a threat to both of them. Divorce this man. OMG. He went behind your back to do this to your loved one. He even faked a letter and hid her phone from you. This is completely out of proportion to anything that happened. This was unwarranted cruelty and a breach of trust. GTFO of that relationship. He will absolutely repeat that behavior. Not stay home. He stole her phone and sent her to a homeless shelter with no phone. Like I don't know anyone's numbers. If someone took my phone and sent me to a homeless shelter, I'd basically be stuck there forever because I'd never be able to call someone to help. It's super lucky Opie's sister was even able to get in contact. Little update. He returned home and we started arguing again. I couldn't take it anymore, and I'm going to stay at a hotel for tonight. I'm leaving in an hour or so. He is wanting to talk again now, but I'm incredibly overwhelmed and stressed out and need some time by myself. I don't care if he's going to change the locks or not. I'm working on meeting up with my sister as soon as possible so we can talk more openly about what happened and hopefully try and figure something out. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making inappropriate noises when my mother-in-law called my husband's phone at 2 a.m.? My husband Kevin and I got married months ago, and ever since we moved away, his mom has started calling more often. She had a mental breakdown when she heard we were moving. She begged we stay near because she needs him, though her 2 older sons are there. Anyhow, she'd call at random times, then started calling in the middle of the night, specifically at 2 a.m. I thought that was so weird, but she said she wanted to hear Kevin's voice but was too busy to call during the day. Kevin responds to her call every time, saying he's worried there might be an emergency. It's exhausting and completely ruins our alone time. I asked her to call at like 10, but no, she kept calling at 2 a.m. Kevin said he can't bring himself to ignore her calls and asked that I be patient. Last night, I decided I wasn't having it. I waited till Kevin was asleep and put his phone on vibrate and waited for her to call. 2 o'clock rolls around and the phone starts vibrating on a nightstand. I stretch my arm to answer and then I start making bedroom noises from the bed. I'm talking full-on moaning, and then some dirty talk, then moaning. Few seconds in and she ends the call. Kevin wakes up and asks if I was alright. I tell him it's just a fever, then he goes back to sleep. I woke up to a complete disaster with Kevin angrily asking what the heck I did last night when his mom called. Clearly, she was livid and mortified because Kevin said I just traumatized her by having her think we were doing it when she called. I told him what I did and insisted it was just out of frustration. But he said I shouldn't have done that and embarrassed him and made his mom uncomfortable. I said she was calling at 2 a.m. He said still I acted childishly and potentially harmed his relationship with her. I told him to just tell her I was behind this. And he said, oh, don't worry about it, I will. Then demanded I apologize to her immediately. But her shaming texts made me refuse. I might have gone about this the wrong way, but I was just frustrated, that's all. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Was it childish? Absolutely. But so is she. However, the biggest problem here isn't your mother-in-law, it's your husband. Not the a-hole. They seem to have a codependent relationship and you're stuck in the middle. He says he made his mom uncomfortable. Always being woke up at 2 a.m. isn't comfortable for you either, OP. The above post is spot on. Your husband is the problem. There's a reason sleep deprivation is considered torture. The others are right though, you have a husband problem. Maybe he needs to sleep elsewhere so that when mommy calls, to make sure that umbilical cord is still attached but you're not disturbed. Exactly. If my mom were doing this, I would put a stop to it. I was on a business trip a few years ago, and my mom called around 3:30/4 a.m., which for her was 6:30/7 a.m. She was mortified when she was told what time it was where I was. She hadn't thought about the time difference. This is purposeful in the middle of the night, and the husband, if he wants to keep a wife, needs to put a stop to it. Everyone sucks here. You're aiming your anger at the wrong person. If your husband didn't answer, you wouldn't be waking up every night at 2 because of his mother. You have a husband issue, not a mother-in-law issue. And the more you're going to do that kind of silliness, the more he's going to treat you like a child and like you're the problem. You need couples counseling. She has both. Yes, if her husband didn't answer, you bet your bottom dollar the mother-in-law would keep calling and calling and calling, then nobody would get any sleep. Not stay home. I probably wouldn't have made those noises, but I probably would have asked her to please not call at 2 a.m. since her pansy son won't do it. Sorry you married a mama's boy and not a man. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for turning my husband's gaming room into an office? My husband is out of job. He has been for months now and doesn't have any money because he spent it all on gaming gears and animals. I'm the breadwinner right now and recently was given a work-from-home job. We have 2 kids that understandably make a lot of noise, so there's not a quiet spot in the house except a bedroom. But my husband refused to let me work from there and said that 1, it makes me look unprofessional, and 2, he doesn't want to be restricted from space. I asked if he'd let me take his gaming room and turn it into an office temporarily, but he said no. I had a fight with him and ended up moving his gaming stuff into the bedroom. He found out and lost his temper. I told him he left me no choice, especially after I offered a compromise to share the room. But since it plays at random times, he said no. He kept yelling at me, calling me irresponsible and a dictator. I firmly told him that this is part of the house. That is my space too. But he said, no, no, no. Your space is the kitchen. This pushed me to lash back at him and he left. But said by the time he got back, everything needed to be put back. He came home drunk, so I didn't want to fight with him. He then kept ranting about wanting his room back even after I tried to convince him to play in the bedroom all he wants. Yet he's not having it and wants the atmosphere his gaming room has. Am I the a-hole for this, or is he being unreasonable? I'll give him back the room if it turns out that I'm the a-hole. Edited to add for some clarification. When he said my space is the kitchen, I think what he meant is that I control everything there. From decoration to appliances, and I spent more time there compared to him. B. He used to contribute in a lot of things when he had a job. He used to pay for the kids' needs and handle bills and groceries. He makes sure to remind me about how much he used to do every day and tends to bring it up in every argument. He's not happy with losing his job, but circumstances are uncontrollable. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Can't work in your room. Can't work in his gaming room. The kids need to be taken care of. Saying you belong in the kitchen is such a degrading comment. I hope things improve for you both. Honestly, it's tiring having to even fight about this. I have offered more than compromise, but he wasn't having any of it. I get that his gaming room is his personal space that he worked hard to create, but I wouldn't have done this if circumstances were different. You could put his stove plus a bed in the gaming room and you take the bedroom, which he's no longer allowed in. He'd probably agree to that. I mean, it really is more comfortable having your own bed. Not the a-hole. A space for working trumps an entire space for playing video games. Besides, while you're working, he's taking care of the kids and housework since he's unemployed, right? Agreed. But with as pig-headed as he is about losing his game room, I don't see helping Opie with the kids or housework without constant nagging at a possible fight. Dude went out and got drunk because he couldn't hide away in his dedicated game room anymore. Sounds like teenager attitude to me. No, no, no. Your space is the kitchen. This sealed the deal for me. You're raising 3 kids. I'm a gamer myself, but if I were a stay-at-home dad, I'd be doing everything to make it easier for her while looking for a damn job. Then bro said your space is the kitchen? I have no words. Might want to evaluate your marriage with this guy. Not saying divorce, actually I kinda am, but this dude needs a lesson. NTA, NTA, NTA. He actually said that in comparison to the gaming room. He pointed out how I control everything in the kitchen for decorations to time spent in it, but I don't think it's the same because he just doesn't want to spend time in the kitchen. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for taking a major financial decision without the input of my fiancé? This is going to be a long post with a lot of background info, so please bear with me. Before I, 32 male, was born, my mom found out that my bio father was cheating. They started on the divorce proceedings before she found out she was expecting. When she told him, he said that was impossible since he was infertile and she must have cheated. He asked for a paternity test, but she was emotionally exhausted and now suspects he was abusive, but she never told me so. So she asked instead that he sign away his parental rights since he was so sure that it wasn't his. Then she moved in with my grandparents. When I was 14, I asked her about him and I wanted a full story. She told me what I wrote above, and me, being the immature teen boy that I was, threatened to run away unless she contacted him. I thought then that she was just being petty, and that if I had proof I was his kid, he would be a dad. When she did, he sent this really hurtful letter to both of us, calling her a lot of names that makes my blood boil, and accusing her of trying to bleed him dry of his money. That was the day I decided that I don't need him at all. Fast forward to about 8 months ago. I guess he had a near-death experience and tried to contact my mom to apologize for what he did. Of course, she refused, but he managed to get a picture of me, and I'm like his clone. He contacted me saying that he was wrong and immature, and that he wanted to get to know the only kid he had in his life, but I refused. Then he started trying to bribe me to interact with him, offering to pay for my student loans, offering to get me a house, inviting me on expensive trips, and I refused everything. I told my fiancé, female 29, everything, and she was supportive at first. Then she started to urge me to get him to pay off our loans and help us to get a home. I refused categorically. It is relevant to mention that due to the pandemic, we have a lot of debt, and we delayed our wedding just to pay some of it down. I got fed up and asked him to meet. Then I told him that I will never accept a cent from him, and if he tried to contact me again, I would be calling the cops and be doing my best to get a restraining order. When I told my fiancée, she exploded on me. Said that me making that big a financial decision without consulting her showed her just how controlling and selfish I am. Now she left and won't answer my calls. So am I the a-hole? P.S. First, thank you all. I have read every single comment. Second, since I've seen it a lot in the comments, we are not in a desperate situation. The debt we decided to pay was all credit card debt, less than $6,000, and we are not planning to pay for our wedding by borrowing. That's why we decided to postpone it so we can save for it. We are currently in all our bills, and are paying extra for the credit card and saving for our wedding at the same time. Not the a-hole. This isn't a big financial decision. This is you squaring away family affairs and making it damn clear about a relationship with a man you do not want. Your fiancé seems more interested in milking the situation of money rather than giving a damn about how you feel. Good riddance, she's left, I'd say. Exactly. Not the a-hole, and you've just learned a valuable lesson. Your fiancé is manipulating you for financial gain without any regard for your feelings. She just showed you her true colors. To be honest, the more I think about it, the more I'm appalled by her behavior. She left in an attempt to manipulate you and guilt you into taking money from a possibly abusive person. She has no problem exposing you to a toxic relationship if it means she'll get money out of it. It seems like she doesn't really care about you. I've read plenty of stories here where people were encouraged to get money from their horrible parents to at least get something out of a bad situation. Usually minors who needed to not get financially stunted, but Opie's an adult that has the liberty of not resorting to these kinds of measures. Regardless, this is the kind of decision that a person has to make individually. Whether the money is worth the trauma, and the only input a partner should have in it is supporting their person through a tough situation. I want to give Opie's fiancé the benefit of the doubt. It sounds like they were offered a life-changing amount of money, the kind that blinds people. It doesn't make the reaction okay, but it is something that could possibly be worked through. Either way, I'm sorry Opie has been put through this type of situation. Am I the a-hole for wanting some space from my daughter after she believed I was an abuser? Basically, I, 41 male, was accused of sexually assaulting her 16 female friend, 17 female. She's known her just over a year, so I've known her for the same amount of time. She tried to kiss me. I turned her down, and as a result, she accused me of violating her. It went on for a few weeks, and even went to the police, and it only came out when they were grilling her and she finally admitted it. She was victimized, but it was her mom's boyfriend, and she went with accusing me because I was the safe option or some nonsense like that. When my daughter found out at a time, and I was being investigated though, she cut me off. Basically, didn't even want to talk to me or see me. I tried to pick her up to come over, but she said she didn't even want to see me. My ex wouldn't even let me in the house. Even she believed it. And her brother, my ex-brother-in-law, physically beat me and removed me from the house because I wouldn't go until I seen my daughter. Worst thing was, she blocked me in social media. But before she did, she put a status on her social media just saying some bollocks like "believe women," which freaking hurt. In my daughter's eyes, I was a criminal and I assaulted her friend. So now it's all came out and I'm cleared. She rang me up to say she wants to come over to talk. But I said no, I don't think it's a good idea. It hurt me when she didn't believe me, so I want to just think for a bit until I forgive her. My ex then rang saying how hurt my daughter is because I won't forgive her. She tried to apologize too, and I told her I don't accept her apology either, and that I don't want to talk to her either. They're not stopping texting me though, and my daughter tried to come over and was banging my door asking to come in, crying. I pretended I wasn't in. Am I the a-hole for wanting some space because I don't know if I can forgive her yet? Edited to add because people keep on asking, why were you alone with a 17-year-old? I wasn't really alone with her. They were both staying at my house. I went for a wee in the middle of the night, and she was waiting outside the toilet door and scared me a bit coming out. I laughed it off, and she basically lunged trying to kiss me. I laughed it off, told her no, and went back to bed. I didn't really pay it any more attention, and truth be told, forgot about it. Now for the top comments. How are you holding up? Please take care of yourself. Truth be told, not very good. This happened to me, but accuser was my friend's now wife, who got drunk off her butt, cheated, then told everyone I drugged her. And that's why she did it. Blood tests proved she was just drunk, while cameras showed her leading some dude into bar toilet, and me nowhere to be seen. She was dumb enough to post on social media, and police ran a talk screen a day or so later, and pulled camera footage. It's been 15 years, and most people that know still believe her cause, hey, believe women, and I'm some predator that drugged her. I threatened legal action. Her and her husband did attempt to apologize once after deleting all social media posts about it. I asked for an equal Facebook post to the one blaming me. They declined, things got heated, and it got a black eye. I've refused to speak to them or any of my old group of friends since. If the betrayal I felt was anything to go by, and yours was from your own daughter, which would hurt orders of magnitude more, you're not the a-hole. Where's the brother-in-law here? That dude had have called police on. That he chose to marry such a woman just shows that he's an incurable idiot. He deserves every miserable hour he's married to that lying skank. She's had liposuction plus boob lift, plus glammed up. She's now a lady. He's an only child and his parents are quite well off. He's going to lose everything the moment they die and money comes to him. He'll get his own soon enough. Take all the time you need to heal from this disturbing and traumatic experience. Having your family not believe you is such a betrayal. To top it off with a social media post must have been gutting. Not only did she believe her friend with no proof, she also was ready to announce to the world that you're guilty. Legally, can you do anything about the fake allegation, as well as the physical assault from your ex-brother-in-law? I would scorch the earth. Don't worry about your ex-wife. Ignore that witch. The only thing I want to do about my ex-brother-in-law isn't exactly legal. I do the same thing as you. I just tell them I'll come to you all when I'm ready to talk if that time should ever come, and not the other way around. This is exactly it. Actions have consequences. Some things there is just no coming back from. This might be one of them. It's sad because they may be the end of their relationship. People will now likely not believe the friend's actual trauma because she lied about OB. She has made her own situation worse and made it worse for other victims. It is hard enough for victims of SA to come forward, but lies like this are the reason people question crimes like SA in a way they'd never question burglary, etc. She will learn a very harsh lesson, and OP and his family are suffering for nothing. Now for the mini update. I've messaged her saying basically I'm still too hurt to want to talk, and I need time and space. And that'll let her know when I want to get in touch. I also said I still love her, despite not really being sure if I should say that, when I am not sure if I can forgive yet. I've also messaged my ex, saying to make sure she or my daughter don't contact me again until I'm ready. Not heard anything back yet, but hopefully I won't. Someone on here said I should look into a holiday, which really isn't a bad idea. So I'm currently looking into places I can go for a week or so, and might book some time off work. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to drop the charges against my adopted dad's ex-stepdaughter? Long story short, I was raised by a single mom in crushing poverty until I, now 44, was 13. My mom got remarried and I was eventually adopted by her husband. He and his family were like winning the step/adoptive family lottery. Literally changed my life. As far as I knew, Dad's nephew and I were the only children in Dad's family. Years later, I found out more details. Dad was married and had a daughter, Ashley, now early 50s. When Ashley was 14, her mom filed for divorce and moved in with her affair partner. She told Dad she had been cheating their entire relationship and he wasn't Ashley's biological father. Her affair partner had been married their entire relationship, and when his wife died, he wanted Ashley and her mom to move in. DNA testing was expensive and not common for paternity at the time, but Dad was excluded as Ashley's father by blood type. Ashley's mom had known since shortly after her birth that Dad wasn't her biological father because of their blood types. Ashley and her mom moved in with a fair partner and his children in the home he had previously shared with his wife. They requested that Dad neither pay child support nor have visitation. Ashley was 15 or 16 by then, and she wrote Daddy a letter asking him to leave her alone and let her build relationships with her biological family. He did as she requested, and they never reconnect as father and child after that. As far as I know, they never spoke again. Ashley's mom wanted a quick divorce and property settlement. Dad got the house and contents. Ashley's mom got cash. I barely knew Ashley existed until Dad died. Dad's will specifically mentioned her, denied her as his biological child. I'm pretty sure he was never removed from her birth certificate, and expressly stated that she was to get nothing from his estate. When she got notice that she was disinherited, she contacted me. Initially, she was very pleasant and asked if she could have some heirlooms that her mother had left behind in a divorce. I wasn't necessarily opposed and asked her to send me a list of items. She never provided a list and wanted to come look around and find stuff. I declined. Over the past 5 years, she has become increasingly more aggressive and volatile. Turns out, a fair partner wasn't her biological father either. His family had a bit of money and paid for DNA testing in the early 1990s, after Ashley was an adult. His parents and grandparents wouldn't pay for her college or include her as a grandchild in their wills without proof she was biologically related. She wasn't included in a fair partner's will because she wasn't his biological child. She's very angry. She feels cheated. She has no idea who her biological father is. Her mom swore on her deathbed that a fair partner was her dad, and the DNA test was wrong. She leaves me alone for a while and then starts throwing up at my house and job, ranting and carrying on about how I stole her life, her inheritance, her childhood home. She refers to me as the replacement. Eventually, I involved the police and she's been charged with remaining after forbidden and or disturbing the peace 10 times. She escalated to property damage, and I finally had grounds for a restraining order. She violated it multiple times and was charged with misdemeanor violation of a protective order a couple of times. The last time they charged her with a felony. Now she's worried that a felony could impact her job. She wants me to drop the charges. Am I the a-hole for refusing to drop the charges against her? Now she's worried? Now, after all of this, not the a-hole. Don't drop the charges. OP, if you let her off again, she's only going to escalate. She's finally about to suffer a real consequence, and that has her scared, but not remorseful about what she's done. Also, you didn't do this to her. She did it to herself. She had plenty of warnings. Not the a-hole. She's stalking you and it's alarming. So it's fine for her to trespass, cause scenes at your home and job, but when her own job is supposedly at risk because of her outrageous behavior, you're expected to help her out? Don't fall for it. Ask the prosecutor and court to hold her fully accountable. Do not drop these charges. She will just start up again. Sadly, she did get screwed over by a lot of people, but not your problem. She mainly got screwed over by her mom sleeping with multiple men and not knowing who her father is. Poor woman. OP, has Ashley indicated if she has done a 23andMe kit or similar and did a little legwork to see if she may be your father's actual daughter or her mom may have lied on her deathbed and there was more than the 2 men? I don't know what she has done as far as DNA testing. My dad was blood tested by the court and excluded as her father as a man with his blood type couldn't possibly be the father of a child with hers. Honestly, you're definitely not the a-hole here. Ashley sounds like she's just trying to blame you for her own issues, and it's super unfair for her to harass you like that. Like, girl, you didn't steal her life. Her mom did that. You have every right to protect herself and keep those charges. If she didn't want consequences, she shouldn't have acted like a total mess. It's wild how she thinks she can just waltz in and demand you drop everything after all that drama. Stay strong. I literally feel terrible for her. Everything good in my life is because of Dad and his family. I never would have gone to college without their financial support. I probably wouldn't have even finished high school if my life hadn't changed so drastically. I can't imagine where I'd be in life if they hadn't taken me in. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my father because he disowned me after knowing that I wasn't his biological child? So let's get into it, I guess. Almost a decade ago, my dad found out that my mom cheated on him with another guy years ago through my mother's sister. My mom and aunt weren't in good terms, so she told dad everything. My parents fought over this and dad filed for divorce. We all got DNA tested, and out of 3 children, I was the only one who wasn't his. It felt so bad to know that your dad who raised you for almost 16 years wasn't really your dad. That didn't feel as bad as him kicking me out of his house when I was begging him not to. I wished I could just end myself when he disowned me. My mom went into a depressive state and would just spend all day in bed and would just get out to use the toilet. My grandparents lived in a different state, but they did everything they could to make our lives better. I needed to come home from school, do all the chores in the house, and tend to my mom and check on her. I did everything that could possibly be done to make sure we lived. I would ask my mom who my real dad was, but all I got was screaming or a hit. My siblings and grandparents from dad's side tried to make things right between me and dad, but he wouldn't budge. Apparently, I was just a reminder that mom cheated on him and nothing else. I remember my 17th birthday when no one remembered that it was my birthday. I cried to the point where I didn't have any tears left. Even when I graduated from high school, only my grandmother came. Why didn't my feelings matter to anyone? Why was I supposed to endure this? After I returned from my graduation, I told my mom that I was leaving if she doesn't tell me who my real dad is, and this time she did tell me who he was. I met him after finding where he lived. I discovered that I have a half-brother, and that my real father was a widower and a doctor. He didn't know that I existed or the fact that my mom was married. It took us time, but we built a bond and he helped me get through college and he walked me down the aisle. He even got mom some help, and I am forever grateful to him. Well, present time me, I 26 female, was married to my lovely fiancé last week, and I didn't invite my ex-dad to my wedding. He tried to contact me before the wedding, but I don't want anything to do with him. My siblings and grandparents from ex-dad's side say I am wrong and that he wanted to come and make things right. But I don't want to make things right. He had a right to abandon me, so I have a right to do the same. He isn't my father. He was once upon a time, but not now. I understand that he was hurt, but I was hurt too. Everyone tells me to let go of the grudge, but I just don't want him in my life. And no, I won't give him another chance. My husband understands, but no one else seems to understand what I had to go through to get to where I am now. He cannot just come to my life 9.5 freaking years later and expect things to be alright. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. I don't blame you at all for not inviting him. He made his choice when he disowned you, and that caused a deep hurt that doesn't just go away. You've already rebuilt your life and found a real father figure who supported you. You have every right to protect your peace and keep him out. It's not about holding a grudge. It's about making sure you don't let someone back in who caused you so much pain. You owe him nothing, especially not forgiveness on his terms. You're so right. It's not about being bitter. It's about protecting yourself from more pain. Nobody should have to forgive just because someone suddenly wants back in. The father isn't trying to reconcile because he loves or misses the OP. OP was an emotional and financial liability when she was kicked out all those years ago. The father didn't want the responsibility of caring or to spend one thin dime on the OP for food, clothing, or college. Now that OP has been to college, has a nice job and a nice partner that could help feed and drive the father to his doctor's appointments when he gets too old to care for himself, suddenly the OP is seen as a genuine asset. The father is just at the age where his own parents are needing more of him, and it's making him reconsider who he has to support himself in his old age. Not the a-hole. Tell everyone that you aren't holding a grudge and don't wish him ill, that you're just unwilling to reopen a wound that you've worked so hard to start healing, that you need to remain no contact in order to continue your healing journey, so you wish him peace, but your paths diverged 10 years ago and will never meet again. Why would he just abandon her and decide he wants to fix things after 9 years when she already has her life sorted out, after he ghosted her when she needed him the most? He made crystal clear he didn't want to be part of your life. Let him live forever with the consequences of that decision. OP's father took the decision that was best for him 9+ years ago. Now she's taking the decision that is best for her now, not the a-hole. Unfortunately, the decision he made was not the best for him in the long run. While it was made at a time when his emotions ran amok, as a grown adult who had raised this child for 16 years, he had ample time to rectify the situation. He failed to do so and relinquished his right to have a place in her life. Not the a-hole OP. However you proceed, do so in the fashion you're comfortable with. Congratulations on your marriage and finding your bio dad. Am I the a-hole for my comment to my girlfriend's sister regarding her accomplishments? So I'm 26 male, usually I'm a very quiet and respectful person. But I don't deal with my girlfriend Kelly's 26 female sister Alexa 27 female at all. I think she's a crappy person, entitled and just not my cup of tea. Alexa was dating my friend Drew when me and Kelly met. Drew was the one who actually helped me get with Kelly in the first place, so I owe the guy a lot. Drew and Alexa were living together and he was supporting her career. She was in law school and he worked full-time. I didn't find this out till after, but he took out the loans for her to go, along with using his salary to pay their housing and paying for her classes. He was really proud of her budding career. Well, about a year ago, Alexa graduated from law school and within a week, broke up with Drew. Drew was heartbroken, and I was the one who found out most of the dirt about the finances. Alexa used him for 3 years for free school and dumps him a week after she graduates. This caused shockwaves in the family. Her parents were furious and Kelly wasn't a fan of her sister for months, but eventually everyone forgave her and acted like Drew never existed. It pissed me off bad, and I haven't said a word to her sister since. I won't address her whenever I'm forced to be around her. Alexa passed the bar and landed a job, so her parents threw her a celebration. I was asked to attend by Kelly. I refused, kept refusing, but eventually she broke down and said she needed me there. So we went, and I talked to the members of her family alike, mostly my girlfriend's dad. So Alexa got up to give a speech to thank people. So as she was in the middle of thanking different people for the help they gave her, I said, "Don't forget to include Drew," loud enough the whole room heard it. It got really quiet, then her dad cracked up and her mom tried to advance the speech. My girlfriend dragged me outside and tried yelling at me, followed by her mom. The conversation wasn't going well, so I called an Uber and left. My girlfriend is demanding I apologize. I told her I'd apologize when Alexa starts paying Drew back for the debts he is in now. And until then, I wouldn't say a kind word to her sister. And I plan on telling every single guy Alexa dates the story about what she did to Drew. Because as a guy, I'd like to know that info. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. I feel not the a-hole, but you, sir, are the brother and friend everyone needs in life. Tell Drew to take his ex to court. Might be able to get some of the money back. Drew made a decision to take out those loans. That's on him. It would at least smear her name with other attorneys. Drew should sue. Not the a-hole, but it really wasn't your place to do it at a party. But dang, kudos to you for that great line. You know, secretly everyone must have loved it except Alexa. For your own benefit, remember that your girlfriend didn't choose to have Alexa as her sister, but family's family and she's got to live with it. Honestly, I can't believe the parents threw her a party. What she did was so blatantly scummy. Me neither. I called it trashy to my girlfriend and her mom during the fight. Like, why would you celebrate this person? Prestige apparently trumps teaching your kid to be a decent person. Not stay home. Look closely at your girlfriend if she thinks this kind of behavior is okay. Starting to. Her being this supportive of her sister is a huge red flag to me. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for not allowing my girlfriend's sister to move in and changing the locks?" So, a really messy situation. I, 27 male, have been dating my girlfriend Ashton, 26 female, for 2 years and we live in the house that I own. Ashton's finishing up her master's program, so I don't charge her rent. I pay for all the housing expenses, and in return she chips in on groceries, utilities, and some of the household chores. But I pay the lion's share of all household expenses. I'm cool with the situation till she graduates, and we have always communicated well. Until now. So Ashton has a hot and massive sister named Anna, 28 female. Anna's burned most of her bridges with her family. She has 2 kids by 2 different dads, been married and divorced twice, hops from one sketchy boyfriend to another, always in and out of work, and always complaining about her situation instead of actually doing anything to solve it. I gave up on her last year when she dated this loser who obviously didn't like kids, but she kept dating him against me and her sister's advice. Well, she moved into his place, and this Saturday we got a call that they were breaking up and she had nowhere to go this time. She hadn't been working and didn't have rent money. Ashton asked me if we could take them in. I said absolutely not. Her sister was a leech. Also, that I didn't want kids in my house. I work from home half the time and don't want 3 extra people in my space. Also, I don't want to get involved with her sister at all. I've supported her plenty over the last few years, rides, babysitting, etc., and I'm done. My girlfriend didn't take this well and said she would help her sister if she could. I said fine, let me know where you take her and I'll bring by some food, but it won't be my house. My girlfriend tried saying it was her house too, but I said when she started paying the mortgage, she can decide who lives here. So her sister tried calling me individually and I told her the same reasons, and told her I'd bring food by when she finds a place. I also gave her the number of multiple organizations that could help her. She got offended. Well, I was at work yesterday, sales, and I noticed on my Ring camera Anna/her kids unlocking my front door with a bag on her shoulder. I called my girlfriend and asked her immediately what was going on. She said Anna needed a place to go for a few hours while her ex moved out of the apartment. I asked how she got in the house as I locked it. Ashton said she made Anna a key months ago in case she ever needed to get in. I was furious and told her to tell Anna to get out or I'll be calling the police. Ashton called and Anna left, but not before calling me an a-hole. So I decided today to change the locks and get a new garage access code. Ashton will have to request through the garage and I will give access. Ashton is upset, but I told her that this is gonna be the way it is until her sister finds a place. Because I can't trust I won't come home and find 2 kids and a woman living in my house. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and in my opinion, you need to think seriously about your relationship with Ashton. The fact that she went behind your back is a major red flag. I wouldn't make any rash decisions, but she's violated his trust in a big way here. Forgiving this once or twice is possible, but beyond that, it's game over. I don't think I could forgive the copying of my key without my knowledge or permission. Not the a-hole, but I think you need to reevaluate if you can trust Ashton. She way overstepped boundaries by making her sister a key without your permission. Yep, when my boyfriend had a roommate, he consulted him about getting me a key to the apartment if I wanted to get in when they weren't home. His roommate said he'd rather I didn't have a key, but didn't mind if I was already there when they left. That was respected because it was a shared living space. Not stay home. If she wasn't working when she lived with a boyfriend, what's going to make her work when she lives in your house? Exactly the point I made. Anna has a job currently, but I don't think she manages her money well. Your girlfriend is the bigger issue, I'm afraid. Despite your very clear hell no, she still tried to get the sister into your place. She clearly doesn't care that you are opposed to this. She's gonna keep trying. You may need to lose the girlfriend if you can't get her to stop enabling the sister. But do you really want to deal with that crap forever? Time to sit down and make it clear. Stop enabling sister or leave. Next story. Am I the a-hole for likely making my mother lose custody of my siblings? In 2018, my mother got married to the man she was cheating on my dad with for years. This already put a serious dent in the relationship I had with her. I moved out shortly after my stepdad moved in since he thought he suddenly owned everything in the house, including my work computer, PlayStation 4, etc. A few months after moving out, my brother, 18, called me in the middle of the night because our stepdad threw him out for stealing money and catching him in possession of hard drugs, all of which were and still are lies. I already had minimal contact with my mother by that point, and the day my brother moved in with me, I was met with a barrage of texts and calls of my stepdad that I had to bring my brother back with the money or else he'd come get him. I told him to shove it and try me. Fast forward until last year, they divorced because, surprise, he stole the money. He was also an alcoholic and an addict. and admitted to planting the substances in my brother's room. After the divorce and getting a restraining order, he started harassing neighbors. Showed up in the garden in the middle of the night to look inside through windows. Showed up at my sister's school. She's 12 at a time. She's still in therapy over this. It was also discovered that he's blacklisted in every bank in the country from starting loans because of massive debt. The relationship with our mother started healing a bit after this. Through our younger brother, we found out she wasn't home for 3 days straight. So my 18-year-old brother called her, and after some beating around a bush, she tells him he's with our ex-stepdad again. My brother hangs up and texts me this. After subduing my rage, I ask my 16-year-old brother and younger sister, now 14, if they still want to live there. They both say no, and I tell my father. About a week later, she served legal documents that state my father is trying to get full custody of my siblings because of my mother's actions. And according to her own lawyer, there's a high chance she'll lose them. She calls me in panic, and I tell her it's her own fault. She starts crying and screaming that I should be happy that she finally found true love. I ask her if it's worth it to lose all of her children over this, and she responds with insults towards me, my brothers, and my now fiancé. I tell her to never contact me again and hang up. I haven't heard from her since, but I've heard from other people that she's heartbroken that she's about to lose her children. But she's also blaming us and telling everyone that her kids don't want her to be happy and are always on their dad's side. Now, I'm not asking whether or not I'm the a-hole for cutting her out of my life. I'm fairly convinced it's the best thing for me personally. But I think I might have gone a little too far in giving my father more ammo, on top of what he already had, to take my siblings from my mother. I think it's the best for them. I just want to look out for them. So am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It's great that your younger siblings have someone looking out for them. I couldn't add the following information because of the character limit, but my father also looks out for us a great deal. He isn't trying to just get custody to stick it to my mother. He just can't do much without it going through legal channels, because my mother screwed him over pretty bad during the divorce with lies and things that never happened. Well, your mom is now learning that the truth hurts. You've done nothing wrong. Children need to be protected, and you don't leave them at home alone to fend for themselves. Your sister is still in therapy after what happened when she was 12, and your mom disappears for 3 days to spend it with her abuser? OP, thank you for protecting your younger siblings. They need to get out of there. OP, I saved orphans from a burning building, but the arsonist is upset I spoiled her fun. Am I the a-hole? Just in case I end up at the top, not the a-hole. That actually gave me a good laugh. Thank you. When you put it like that, yeah, screw the arsonist. Sarcasm finally saves the day. I do know the world is messier, and until your father wins, this might get worse. But that doesn't mean you're not doing the right thing. Not to mention, there might be reasons your father didn't have any custody in the first place. Sorry though it might be, please help to make sure this isn't jumping from the frying pan into the fire. Go you. As far as I'm aware, the reasons why my mother got custody is because of a traffic misdemeanor that her lawyers used to label him as a criminal, and some other things that were blatant lies. But she was somehow able to convince the court that these claims were true. Our father let me look at all the legal documents of the divorce during the proceedings, because he thought he owed his children full transparency. I haven't caught him in a single lie on anything. He always tells how it is. He looks like the typical biker dude. Tall, burly, tattoos, but he's an absolute sweetheart that always looks out for his children. He has always taken us before anything else. He even sold his motorcycles for my brother to be able to pay for college as a gift. There's not a single bad bone in his body. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that if her sister and brother-in-law need a place to stay, they can live in a camper? My wife and I have been married for 4 years and live on a hobby farm I purchased before we started dating. We have just under 15 acres of land, grow our own food and have some chickens, goats, and pigs. I've also spent a lot of time and money updating and renovating the house, quite a bit of which my wife has helped with over the years. One of the upgrades we did was to redo the guest bedroom and bathroom. It's quite nice. Now, my sister-in-law and her husband recently fell in hard times. From what I've heard, it was about 50% bad luck and 50% bad decisions on her husband's part. As a result, they and their 3 kids are currently living in a motel. My wife brought up the idea of having them come stay with us until they get on their feet, but I haven't been too enthusiastic about the idea. Her idea is to have sister-in-law and husband take the guest room, and the kids can sleep on the couches/cots in the living room. We don't have a 3rd bedroom for the kids. Now, I have always been child-free by choice. Just never wanted them. I don't hate them, but also don't necessarily want to live with 3 of them either, especially if it's an open-ended living situation. My counter was to allow them to live in my old pop-up camper I have on the property. It's about 10 years old, but it's in great shape as I store it inside. It has enough sleeping space for all of them. A shower and toilet, mini fridge, AC, and heat. In my opinion, it's a pretty sweet camper. Also, and this is a little selfish of me, but I feel it would give them their own space while giving them a place to stay. But it would also maybe be just uncomfortable enough for them to not want to permanently stay, and to give them motivation to find a better option. I also told her that if they stay with us, I would expect them to help out with some chores, even the older kids who are 12 and 14. My wife hates that idea, and can't believe I would force her family to stay outside in the elements, and put them to work when we spent all the time and money to redo the spare bedroom. I told her that unless sister-in-law can give me a concrete move-out date, I don't want them and their kids living in our house indefinitely. She told me that they don't know the first thing about camping or farm work, and they need to focus on getting their lives straight and not worry about anything else. I told her that these are the conditions under which I am comfortable with them staying with us, and I'm not budging. She told me I am being a jerk and unreasonable and that she never expected this kind of behavior from me. The way I feel is that we are doing them a favor, and if we let them stay in the house, the temptation for them to get too comfortable is a lot greater than if they stay in the camper. I understand this could be seen as even a downgrade from living in a motel, but beggars can't be choosers. Not stay home. Open-ended guest situations almost never work out well. Even a newly and nicely renovated guest room is for guests that will be there for a defined time. A living room is a fun place for kids to crash for a visitor sleepover, not for an open-ended living situation. The camper seems like exactly the kind of compromise that anyone should be happy with. It is a lot of stress and really uncomfortable when you have to finally ask them to leave too. It tends to burn bridges. I am totally on the same page as you about the nice newly renovated guest room. In my family, we joke that we like to make the guest rooms comfortable, but not too comfortable so guests leave. Not stay home. It's a very nice offer, and they aren't in the elements. Beggars choosers, blah blah. Honestly, if I had to stay at someone else's home for an indeterminate amount of time, I'd love to have a camper van. It's nice not having to be at attention all the time with your host, and to have your own space where you don't feel like you're bothering them. Not having to share facilities for everything is much better.